a variety of experiences. So you'll get a good broad brush strokes. And we're gonna, is anybody staying for the test prep class? A couple people? Yeah, so we're gonna do our best. Have we seen Jason? No? You wanna text him just to make sure he's alive. But that will start at 7. And let me just get us back on the line up here. And we'll do our best to make sure that we vacate the room like 10 minutes prior, but we're gonna hang out after so that if you wanna talk to us individually, we're here. Yes, so the 4th Thursday of the month. Yeah. So we are, okay, cool. So I'm gonna kick this off. Hey, so grab one of each of them. All right. So this is our How to Make $100,000 in 2019 with your license or within your first 12 months, the solo or team edition. If you go to my YouTube channel, StacyLovesRealEstate.com, there's no E-S-T-A-C-Y. I have the videos from last month and the prior month where we discussed, what did we discuss? The first month we had more on technology and some lead generation scripts. The second month we had, what did we talk about last month? How a part-time agent went to full-time and social media and video. So those videos are up on YouTube. Cool. All right, so today's agenda, I'm going to talk to you about the sales funnel, planning your way to 100,000. I'll also outline the jobs, the 5 jobs of a real estate agent that are the most highly dollar productive. Vince is going to talk to you about how he changed his life and his business by hiring a transaction coordinator as a solo agent. And then Marco, Chris, and I are going to review our experiences staying solo, going from a team to being solo. And I was solo, I built a team, and then I went to another team. I hope you're here for that, not the homebuyer seminar, because that's
Disclosure.
Right, it's like, everybody going to Miami?
Everyone
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so I mentioned before that not everybody that you meet will need your help, right? Does anybody know what the average time somebody spends in their house is? It could be 5 years, depending on like maybe you're younger or in the city. Anybody other numbers you've heard of? I think the national average might be 10. I think you're right though, for certain areas, for certain subsets of people. And then you might have like, I work in Fishtown a lot, and there'll be people I'll talk to that have been there 30 years. So those 5 years and the 30 years are averaging now. Bless you. So if only if 10%, if everybody's moving every 10 years, what percent are moving every year? Or how many people every year are moving? If people move on average every 10 years. So if you talk to 100 people, and 1 out of 10 is likely to move in any given year, because only people move every 10 years, how many people out of 100 might need your help? 100 people, 10%. 10. Yeah, I know. I need to learn how to ask these math questions easier. It's late.
That was a trick question.
Yeah. I'm not trying to trick you. So yeah, so the idea being, if your job is to help people buy and sell real estate, and it's your job to go find those people, if you talk to 100 people, how many times will you expect to get rejected? 90. And who are they rejecting? You? No, they are not. Sometimes they don't even know you, so how could they reject you? They don't even know how amazing you are. So basically, we want to talk to way more people. So by dial-up, door knocking, networking, any kind of lead generation event or activity, we want to make attempts at reaching way more people than we actually need to talk to. A contact is when you actually have a conversation with a decision-making adult about real estate. So you might need to dial or door knock 200 numbers or homes before you get 100 to answer and have a conversation with. So if you're like, I'm going to go out and have 10 conversations with 10 people in their homes, how many doors might you need to talk or knock on? 20 or even 50, right? Probably 100. But the idea being is that you have to set your sights on, I should bring a chart of 100 addresses, or I should have the intention of door knocking as many doors as it takes in this 2-hour time frame so that I have 20 conversations, or whatever the target number is. And then from the contacts, you'll set appointments, and not every appointment that you set will they keep. So they might say, like Marco was talking about somebody, it took them a year or months and months and months before they actually were ready to sell. So he could have set an appointment, they're like, you know what, we're not ready this spring, and then they postpone it, they're not ready, or what have you, you know. So not every appointment that you set will actually take place. So you always want to set more appointments than you actually need to go on. And then once you go on an appointment, you're not going to sign everybody. You know, in the beginning, you want to be conservative and say, maybe as a new agent, I'll sign 1 and 4. And then as you build up experience, maybe now you're signing 3 and 4. Even experienced agents, if they're signing everything that they go on, what's the problem with that? Can you think of what the problem with that is if they're signing every single buyer or seller they meet?
Something's not right.
If they're signing every single listing, let's say they're going on, are they pricing it correctly?
Oh, I wasn't even thinking of
I was
that.
thinking that they're going on only appointments with people that they already knew, they're not meeting new people.
Yeah, they're not going out of their comfort zone to meet people that would not necessarily be predisposed to sign with them. So I think yours is more along the next line. So if, let's say, now you've listed 10 homes, not all of them are going to sell because.
Yeah. Because you can tell someone whose house is worth 400, their house is worth also for 5. Think they're going to sign with that agent? Hell yeah. They get somebody else? No.
Yeah. So you have to price it right in order to sell it. Yeah. And then sometimes you get issues even once you're under contract. So self-employed individuals sometimes will get pre-approved, and then once they dig deep into your paperwork, they might not get the loan. Or
we're all self-employed.
Yeah, exactly. I literally today had a conversation with somebody who's going to be sitting in your seat, and she said, I'm thinking of selling and buying. I was like, do you have a job right now? Yes, I have a part-time job. All right, don't quit your job. Here are 2 lenders to call them today. We'll follow up next week because I don't want you to suddenly quit your part-time job. Now you're, what are we at, 1099? We're 1099. So now you're 1099 and now you can't qualify for a mortgage because you need 2 years in this business, a steady income to qualify for a mortgage. So, you may come across hiccups, once you're under contract. So not every, listing that lists or buyer that signs with you will actually go under contract, and not everybody who goes under contract with somebody to buy or sell actually closes. And so that's where, at the end of the day, you want to figure out what do I want to earn, and then back up the funnel to see how many people does that look like on a day-to-day basis. Okay? Any questions about the sales funnel so far?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're talking through the dials and the knobs and the networking, is that to create your own, is that lead generation for listings? Or you're finding buyers? Are you finding sellers? Are you finding all of the above?
All of the above.
Okay.
You might even, you mentioned doing wholesaling. You might encounter people who are doing wholesaling or a for sale by owner who's actually a real estate agent at another company. And those are opportunities too, because we're not going to get into the weeds tonight, but there's an opportunity to share in the profits of the owner of this company if you brought in somebody who signed up with this company. And then with that, maybe they should get their license. If they're an investor and they're on the street, maybe they should be earning commissions. So there's always an opportunity. Everybody's an opportunity. Or it could be a vendor that you're building relationships with. Next door, Jesse's having a buyer workshop, and he's partnering with sponsors, so they're paying for access to the people he knows.
Okay.
So you don't have to put the money out of your pocket.
And just because this is very rudimentary for me, if you're signing with a brokerage, are they not providing you like a listing, or you're just have to work? Okay, so you're coming in cold and you have to build your own network.
Yep, so we're going to talk about leverage options, coaching, training, whether to be on a team or solo. The most successful real estate agents, the ones who survive, are the ones who are fearless and are just willing to make a fool of yourself, step out of your comfort zone, talk to everybody that you know.
Okay.
We'll give you the tools to know how to do that, but you just have to go do that. And the biggest thing I see is that people waste their time doing the wrong things, and that's why we're here tonight, to tell you that the right things to do to go do, focus on those right activities so that you can start bringing in money. And then you start to layer on some of the fancier items.
And so when we look at the sales funnel here, we're looking at it from a lead generation perspective.
So this is technically called the economic, let me get this back up here, the economic model, meaning that percentages, like it trickles down. We're gonna, the dials, the knocks, and the networking, those are lead generation activities.
Okay.
This is your sales funnel.
Yeah.
Because it's right, so
Yeah,
it
from-
starts with,
From the minute you meet someone to the minute that you're actually getting a check deposit in your account because you either help them buy a house or you help them sell a house.
Right.
So
Okay.
we're not, like, our goal tonight isn't to dive deep into the lead generation aspect, but if you do go to my YouTube channel, the videos from 2 months ago and last month talk about social media and video and open houses and scripts to call people that you know. So
And
those
if you guys have
videos are-
questions about
Yeah,
that at the
that's
end,
what-
or like if you wanna
We'll be around.
talk to us, we can.
okay,
We'll be around. We want to get through this, but we'll be around still to like kind of answer more specific questions.
okay.
So, and before I was mentioning, as Chris was saying, do what works. Don't keep skipping from model to model to model.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at, when I look
Yeah.
at the sales funnel and you show the lead generation, I want to understand the different models, like the organization and
Yeah.
how it goes through the
Yeah.
funnel.
Yeah, so
And
the
to show
sales
that.
funnel is just cold math.
It's just
Yeah,
cold
it's just,
math,
because then
okay.
if you look at like all the lead generation strategies, there's a billion of those too.
Okay.
And then you
Okay.
figure out what works for you. So all strategies that are proven to work. Everybody has to figure out which ones they like to do the best and work best for them.
Okay,
I will not build my business, nor have I ever on open houses. It's just not my thing.
right,
I have that attitude on Sunday because I want to be off.
right.
But other people, it's like their time to shine.
Okay, I guess I was just trying to understand how it aligns with the different business models,
Yep.
because I didn't see that. Okay,
Yes, yes.
perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the thing is, like, the MREA book didn't make sense to me until I was actually 8 and 9 years in the business after I came to Keller Williams. I read it. It's like, it doesn't really make sense to me even after 7, 8 years because I wasn't leveraged. I wasn't, I didn't even have this foundation. The key is to learn what to do, and we teach you how to do the models, and then you can later read the book and learn, like, understand why it worked.
Okay, so I didn't realize it was just one model that you were going through.
Yeah, that was just the one book.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
wanted the clarification on. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so now I just want to point out, so if our goal is $100,000 in income, that's before taxes. You want to earn enough so that you can pay the company dollar and the royalty. So those items are pay as you go. So there's some companies you're going to pay a flat fee every month, no matter what, like $1,300, no matter what, whether you do a deal or not. That can be very scary for a new agent because usually that's for established agents who already know what they're doing. This is meant to give you access to all the resources and the opportunities, the training and education opportunities, and you pay as you go. So if you wanted to make a note, you pay the 25%, 30% at a time. So essentially, if you've got a $10,000 commission, $3,000 will go to the brokerage. And then you pay the $3,000 royalty, so that's the KW franchise fee, that's paid at 6%. So in a $10,000 one, that would be $600.
And
Yeah.
it's 30% by the way, you said 3%.
Oh, I'm sorry, 30%, but $3,000. Chris keeps me honest. So 30% and 6%. So $3,000 and $600. So you would get $6,400 of that first $10,000 commission check. So you do that enough times, and we're going to show you how many times it takes you to get to 100,000. But the goal ultimately is 128,000 before your expenses and taxes out of your gross commission. So now if we look at a house that's about 260, so our KW Philly average last month was 287. So I'm just being a little more conservative and the math worked out nicely such that it's 18 deals a year. So Chris mentioned that he does about 12 deals, 10 to 12 deals, I think he said, just doing open houses by these activities. So if you can imagine, it took you 9 months to get it under your belt.
About 8 months. Yeah.
8 months. So imagine if you just spent your first month or two shadowing all the key open house people and learning the right way sooner rather than later, and every week doing as many open houses as you shadowed, host them yourself. Mess up. Just go out there and be a fool. Just say the wrong thing over and over and over again as you learn the right thing to say. Because the best way to experiment and knowing what to say is actually to be in front of people. Because they've got their scripts, you need to know what you need to say. But until you're in front of them, you don't know what they're going to say. But buyers and sellers say the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, They
just-
have their scripts, we have ours.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
So what you want to do is basically do the right activities over and over and over again based on the proven models so that you start to build a habit of one deal closing a month, and then as you're building, 2 a month. So that way if you start building a habit in a 1 year period, you have 18 deals under your belt at that 260 sales price. My experience, I'm curious about your experience, when I work on receiving, my natural receiving of referrals is at a lower price point than when I proactively go after business. Is that your experience?
I couldn't say that I couldn't tell you the specific metrics of that.
Okay.
I can tell you though, what the energy that you put out in this, it will be returned. If you want a referral-based business and you ask for referrals, you will find them. If you don't ask, you won't get any.
Somebody once asked me, I wish I had a guarantee that this would work, and I said, well, the guarantee is that if you don't do it, it won't work.
Yeah, it's a lot like weight for SP too. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So most people spend so much time trying to perfect everything that they never actually just get out there and do it. Like Stacey's saying, the whole business model is fail falling forward. It's totally cool to mess this up as long as you learn from it and get to move forward a little bit, because they're getting closer and closer to that success. But if a lot of people just stand there in this place trying to learn every little thing, they're like, okay, I'm ready, and I'm broke, and they go, yeah, that's.
You can't keep getting ready to get ready. You
Yep.
just gotta do it.
And most people I've experienced, there's no context for what you're going to experience in the field when you just start. So once you start getting out there, suddenly the classes make more sense. So suddenly you understand, oh yeah, that's happened to me. I've literally so I said I was 9 years in the business when I started reading the MREA. I had already started hiring my first assistant and a showing agent, and then I made mistakes, and then I read the book and I was like, oh, that's why that worked, that's why that failed. The model says to do this and I did this opposite thing, or the model said to do this and I did that and that's why it worked. So it's you want to get out there, experience it firsthand, and it will make more sense, and just follow the people that are successful and do what they say. Okay. So this basically translates into having 1 to 2 closings a month in order to hit that 18 deal a year. Sorry, I'll get this back up for you. I'm just imagining that we're fighting for the screen with the other people. And I don't know, because I think they're tied up or whatever.
I don't know, this one turns off the whole.
Yeah. So essentially, if you want to have 2 closings a month, you're going to need to go on way more appointments. So you're going to basically need to sign up 2 people every month, a buyer or a seller, which means that you need to go on 4 to 5 appointments a month. So really, in your day-to-day operations, all you need to think about is 1 appointment a week, sign 1 out of 2, and go and make sure that you're going after an average sales price of $260. So meaning, when you see a house that gets listed for $400, you volunteer to do the open house. So that way, when you're, my natural average price point is $200 when I am not going after business. When I'm going after business, it's $300, and that's going to be a huge difference. Does that make sense? So ultimately, you just want to go on 1 appointment a week, close 1 out of 2, sign 1 out of 2, make them a buyer or seller client, so that you can then have 1 or 2 closings a month. And as you start to do this, you'll start to see your own track record. As a business person, you've got to track your numbers so that you know what your ratios are. Because this exact formula is not going to work for everybody. We're thinking. It's a good thing I printed out the same. All right, let's see what's our next slide. All right, so if you want to, while the rainbow wheel of death is spinning, but if you go into your packet, it says 1 appointment a week is 50 to 100 contacts a week. So that's just, that's not your experience. That's just what it potentially could be. And we have several programs at AW that teach you how to do 50 contacts a week in order to start building your business. There's another program that's on steroids, that's 100 contacts a week. So I'm pretty confident with 50 to 100 contacts. you know, you're gonna start to see results. And it depends on how efficient you are when you talk to people. When you're just starting out, you may end up having longer conversations with people, but there are, because you're just introducing that you're in business, and there are ways to make sure that the conversation doesn't get too long. Like, hey, this is a business call, I'm really excited to tell you about this, you know. And then if you start getting into it, hey, can I call you later for, you know, to have it more personal. But so that may be 5 contacts an hour in the beginning. Or you may go door knocking and you end up talking to 15 people an hour because the conversations are shorter. You know, so basically you want to figure at least 10 to 20 hours a week, you know, on solid lead generation. Oh, did you? Just. Let me just do force, maybe force. Oh, you know how to do it? Okay, cool. All right, so now if we go to the 5 jobs of a real estate agent, to the bottom of that page. So these are the top 5 dollar producing activities of a real estate agent. Set appointments, go on appointments, follow up on appointments, like in Marco's example. It wasn't the first follow-up or the first text that got him the appointment. He kept following up and it was Marco's text, Marco's text, Marco's text, then they texted. Negotiate contracts. So a buyer and a seller contract to be your client or to negotiate offers. And then role play and script practice. So you want to test out your lines here before you go out there, okay? And then if you go to the next slide, you will see all of the different activities we actually do when you start your real estate business. And you can see none of those people look very happy. The marketing guy is okay, because marketing you get to hide behind your desk, which we do not advocate, hide behind your desk. But I know, right? It's tempting. It's tempting. It's tempting to sit in classes all day. It's tempting to think that working on your website or making this stellar buyer presentation from scratch is the thing to do. Because talking to people and feeling like you're going to get rejected is not like that enticing, but that's what you got to do if you want to make the money. So you got transactions. You got to learn the transaction. You got to learn the agreement of sale. You got to learn sales. So you got to learn how to get the client. You got to learn how to talk to the client. You got to learn how to hold their hand. Woo! Look at you. Skills building. So you got to practice. You got to practice in the office, and then that means getting somebody to partner with you and committing to that. Marketing, yeah, you're gonna want to be promoting yourself, you know, not just prospecting. Prospecting's active, marketing is a little bit more passive, but you'll want to get some things rolling there too. And then general administration. Most people don't get into this business thinking, I want to do paperwork. But yet that exists. So, you know, I want you to think about it this way. When you got your license, or when you get your license and you sign up with a brokerage, these are all the jobs that you're going to have to learn how to do if you are a solo agent with no leverage. Yet, on the prior slide, the only thing that I see on here really is sales and skills building that are the main, that are money producing. So sales meaning going and finding a client, having appointments with clients, negotiating contracts, and following up with them. And then the skills building, which is the role play and script practice. So transactions, marketing, and general administration will take up half your day. At least.
If you're busy.
Yeah, if you're busy.
If you're doing those 2 right, the rest will take up the rest of your time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why a lot of agents have income like this.
Yep.
Because they do a lot of lead gen, they get a lot of business, and now they're busy with their business, so they do no lead gen. And so and then they have no business, and then they start to do more lead gen because they have no business, and then they go up and they have closings, and then they go down again. So the goal being here is to understand, oh, that's our teacher.
Yep.
Hey, it looks like you just came back from vacation. I feel like relaxed. Okay. So yeah, so that's where, you know, these guys are also going to talk about their experience. But just to recap, your business plan is targeting 18 deals a year, you know, at 260 to get that $100,000 in income, which means every week you need to talk to 50 to 100 contacts. You need to go on 1 appointment every week. So your activities are the contacts, and the desired results are the appointments. And you need to sign 1 out of 2 of those appointments and have 1 to 2 closings a month. And then you want to focus your time. So these all have to exist on your calendar. You know, all of these activities have to exist on your calendar. So you want to focus on the dollar producing activities. So if you basically pay somebody else to do 50% of your job, you can do double the lead gen. You can do double the dollar producing activities and earn way more, exponentially more. And then we're gonna dive into, how will I, no, sorry, who will help me? Sorry, there's a typo there, but who will help me? Is it just a transaction coordinator as a solo agent? Is it also the productivity coach, which I 100% recommend? That's also Jason. Or is it being a team agent? So any questions before we hand it over to Vincent about the sales funnel, getting to 100? Yes, Sam.
When you talk about cold calling, do not call list, how do we deal with that?
So there are, when you buy lists of phone numbers, and you can exclude the people on the do not call list.
They won't sell you bad numbers if you buy a good list. But if you get someone to do not call list and they say, I want to do not call list, just tell them, oh, I'm so sorry, my admin got me this, I'll fire them.
You just apologize
Fire.
profusely. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, most people would be like, I'm so sorry, I try to avoid that, but I'll take your name off the list, so sorry. Yeah.
Is there
Vince?
time limit for the do not call list? Like for certain months they can have that there or?
No, I think once you're doing that call.
Yeah, once your number is on the do not call list, you're on the do not call list. It doesn't have an expiration date.
Oh, no.
Well, sure. Yeah, no, that's a big problem. But the problem is that usually getting those calls and services you'll never track down. We're easy to track. We want to be found, right?
Yeah.
How many, you ever even think like, oh, I thought about this other agents and then I'm like, oh, I need to talk to so-and-so. I need to find their number. Like, Google their name, you get their number all over the place. Like, that's more easy to find.
Okay, Vince is on.
Hi, it's Fancy, Iron Man Realtor. So, thanks for coming.
Which is a trademark infringement.
So,
Ignore it.
Hey,
I have
I
not
don't
got in trouble yet, so I'm just gonna keep going with it.
It's actually on par with the do not call list. He's taking a chance. He may get caught, he may get caught.
So, this whole slide's about leverage. And I came originally from South Jersey. I was working for Remax. And when I came here, Stacy was like, you need to get some leverage. You should hire a coordinator. And I was like, but I did it, and it was like the best decision ever. It just freed me up a lot of time. So,
How long did it take you to actually hire her?
It took a while, yeah. You told
What
me
was holding you back?
Well, I'll get there. So,
Okay.
yeah, so, bottom line, listen to Stacy. If you listen to Stacy, you won't go wrong in this business. So that's the moral here. So, the idea was, I'm better at sales. Sales is what's going to make me money. Doing the paperwork, I'm not very good at it, and it doesn't make me money. So I'm better off paying someone to do that for me, and that's the main goal. So I came from New Jersey, and I was working for Remax, and there was no training there, and they just kind of throw you out there and you do your thing. And I was showing houses, and I was like, oh, if I show a house, I'll make money. But it was the back end stuff that I hated, and I wasn't very good at, and it took time. So it says here, certificate of occupancy. So when you sell a house, you have to provide this to the buyer. And so in different townships in New Jersey, they're like Mount Holly compared to Cherry Hill. Mount Holly, you have to have a home inspector come in, and you have to have a fire inspection. In Cherry Hill, you have just a fire inspection. So all these different townships have all these different rules. So I come here, my first listing in Manning, I was all excited, and I was like, oh, let me call the city to find out what kind of inspections they have. And I call up and they go, oh, is it new construction? And I was like, no, it's not new construction. Oh, you don't need anything. And I was like, I love Philadelphia. This is
This
great.
is not going to go well. This is not going to end well.
I don't have to do anything. This is great. So, this was L&I, right? So we're like probably just a few days before closing, and the other agent says, hey, can I have the use and occupancy? And I was like, oh, hold on a second. And then I asked my go, no, it's that's what we call it here in Philly. In Jersey, we call it new construction. We call it And I'm like, well, I called L&I, and they go, who's doing your conveyancing over there? You should be fired. I was like, well, I can't fire myself. You know, so.
If you are your own maid.
Yeah, well, so back to your thing, why didn't I get someone? Because when I was in Jersey, we didn't have that as an opportunity. There wasn't someone in the office that did that for us and we could pay, so I just did it myself. But when I came here and that happened, I was like, good, this is not good. So now I feel as if there's a level of work is off my plate. She makes sure everything gets done. I don't have to stress out. It frees me up to do other things.
Conveyance is provided for the office, or is it a fee to have them?
It's an extra fee.
It's
So
an extra fee.
what is an average commission? What's an average commission of yours?
5 to 9,000.
Okay, so $7,000 would have been the correct answer.
Yeah.
That's the average, by the way.
Okay, so $7,000.
It's a rough crowd here.
Yeah.
I love Vince, and we know
Welcome to
very
real
well.
estate.
Yeah. So
So
7,000.
it's $350,
There you
right?
For every transaction.
Yeah.
So you know what I do? When I sign the buyer or seller up, I write $350 conveyancing fee.
Okay.
And I go, hey, it's going to be hidden in your closing costs. I just let you know up front. This ensures everything gets done right. And they're like, oh yeah, sure.
Okay.
So
Never does anybody say, oh, I don't want to pay that.
Yeah, how much time do you estimate it frees up, or
Hours.
Or,
Hours on hours
Yeah.
on hours.
So basically, for every $7,000, if he were doing his own conveyancing, and he now, or versus now he pays somebody $350, even if it came out of his own pocket, which he doesn't have to, he can now earn $14,000 because he's giving away half his job and paying like a small hourly fee essentially for the exponential returns. So that's why it's hugely critical.
So you just roll that cost into.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's typically what
Well,
everyone does.
Yeah,
Okay.
most agents will have a broker's fee or a conveyancing fee or something of
So
that
it's a line
nature.
item.
It's a line
It's a line
item.
item.
Yeah, I mean, be honest with people,
Yeah.
tell them that it's
We
there,
appreciate
it.
they'll just slide it under their,
That's
you
the
know.
thing.
It's almost like
But-
your own admin.
Right, but
Got it.
it's almost everyone charges one.
Okay.
And even more so than your time, it like just
Accuracy.
like stress, like the stress off your back of not having to do all that coordinating, I think is worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing I started
It's
to
like
do
insurance.
was, I would go do an open house, so I got all these leads, and then they would sit on my desk for like a few weeks until I put them in a database. So now I pay her to add these names to my database, MLS listings. That was another thing that was really slow.
Yeah, I pay something for that.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like, oh, I got a new listing. Like, oh, we have to get it live by 3 days from now. I'm like, great. I'm not great at writing up the descriptions and getting all the pictures in, so I pay a flat fee and it's like done. So, the moral of the story is, I'm spending my time selling and not doing back end paperwork. That's the leverage.
Has anybody ever called Comcast or Verizon to have that installed?
Yes.
Yeah, so who are you talking to when you call them? And who do they send out? A technician. And now let's say there's something wrong and you need to troubleshoot it, who are you calling? A different kind of customer service, right? And then let's say you have a billing issue, who are you talking to? A billing specialist. So the jobs that I had the pictures of the upset people, those are all the jobs that for whatever reason have fallen on us. Yet the best use of our time is the sales. It's uncovering a need and matching it to a solution. That's sales. So when you have this $350 or $495 fee that you're charging to your client, it's insurance that all the reminders are going to go out, the timelines are going to be met, the deposits are going to be protected, and that
Inspections get done on time.
the right things are happening in your transaction.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're selling a product, which is the service that you're providing. So they need to sell their house. That doesn't mean you're doing every single thing
Right,
to sell the house. You're giving them the service. So we're going to go into solo versus team. So who's thought about this at all? And what are your thoughts on it? I just want to hear about what some people are thinking.
I thought about
So
To help me as an individual.
our backgrounds, I started solo, and I have the entire time continued to be solo. Chris, you started on a team,
Started on a team.
and now he is solo. Stacy, you
I was solo,
was
built a
solo,
team,
built
and
a
then
team,
joined a team.
and now is on a team. So all very different
Vince
perspectives.
is on a
So
team.
you'll get a good mix. So I decided when I came into real estate that I did not want to be on a team. My ultimate goal was eventually to grow a team for myself, and I decided to go solo so I could learn everything that goes into the business, because I didn't want to join a team and have them doing things for me that otherwise I would have had to do, and then I wouldn't learn those things. So for me, it was a matter of education. I wanted to learn every single aspect of the business because I didn't want to go on a team, and then when I left that team,
You don't know.
maybe I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to go and generate leads, I don't know how to do some of the paperwork. So for me, it was mostly educational. Trial by fire, I mean, if you do decide to go solo, you're basically throwing yourself into a business that you've never done before, and you're gonna have to figure it out, and you're gonna have to surround yourself with good mentors. So a lot of people join teams for the guidance. You can get guidance without necessarily being on a team. You just gotta surround yourself with the right people who are gonna help you and show you the pitfalls where they messed up and what they did well. And you take that and you kind of grow your own business. So,
I just want to alert you again to this chart,
yeah.
because what the ideal mix for a new agent, I believe, is the pro coaching and the transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
Like, I see too many people join a team for all the wrong reasons, just like it's easy to join the wrong brokerage because you don't know what to ask. When you come here, you actually have 90 days to watch all the teams, interview with teams to see if you want to be on a team. At the very least, the transaction coordinator, the pro coaching, you've got orientation, you've got also market center classes and programs that you'll want to be taking.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, for me, like even the transaction coordinator, I didn't hire right away because I wanted to learn everything. So even that, I was like, I'm gonna push this off and do it myself for like 2-3 months just to see what it's about. Because again, if I'm growing my own team eventually, I want to know what goes into that and what I may eventually have to pay for to outsource it. So I would suggest transaction coordinator is a great idea, especially, but even if you want to, for your first deal or two, do it yourself just to see what goes into it.
With somebody overlooking.
Oh, for sure. So Sarah teaches a class on it, so I wouldn't say, I would have never been able to do it if I didn't take that class and actually
But even
understand
once
what
you
goes
write
into
the
it.
offer.
Yeah.
Even once you write the
Yeah.
offer.
So autonomy and independence. That
See,
was
he didn't
another-
want somebody like me bossing him around all the time, so
What's
that's
that?
why he stayed solo.
For sure. So I left an environment where I was working at a startup and I was micromanaged and it was very negative. And when I got out of that, I was like, you know what? I learned a lot here. I want to take it and I want to dictate my own schedule, and I think that I can do this on my own. So it was a matter of being able to set my own schedule, not have to necessarily answer to anyone. So this is a blessing and it's a curse as well, because when you don't have a boss, you're your own boss, and you got to be very rigid with yourself and your schedule, and you got to keep yourself accountable for doing the right things, which is not easy. Because when you have someone else who's saying, hey, you need to be calling people from 9 to 11, and then you need to do appointments from 1 to 3, whatever it might be, and you're responsible to them to do that, or they're paying you to do that, you're going to be accountable. But when you're doing it for yourself, for some reason, it should be easier, but for some reason it's harder to actually keep yourself, accountable. So that was a big thing. Do you have a question?
I do. What are your guys' take on part-time versus full-time as an agent?
Yeah. I mean,
Let's talk about that after.
Oh,
because
sorry.
We do the video online.
Yeah.
I can touch on that very quickly at the end, but so another thing was when you're on a team, your splits are going to be a little bit lower because you're splitting with the team. So the team is splitting with the brokerage, and then, you know, you're splitting with the team, so you're usually making less per transaction. Now, I knew that I was going to make more per transaction, but do probably less transactions at the beginning, because if you join a team, they'll kind of get you right into the swing of things, and the hope is that you start selling quickly and right away. For me, I started selling quickly, but it wasn't a whole lot of volume. So it was, you know, a few deals here and there getting started. So you'll make more per deal, but on a team you may do more deals.
And can you, like when you join a team, is that like contracted? Like can you decide to come off of the team?
Yeah, it depends on the team how they're going to handle it. Like you might, if you have things under contract while you're with them, and then you decide to leave.
Okay.
You know, there's splits and stuff that go into it. And then the other thing was, I remember Jeremy, who's our team leader here, when he was, you know, first bringing me in at Coldwell, and we were discussing team versus solo. He was like, well, you know, why would you join a team if you think you can do it yourself and you're going to grow their brand instead of your own brand? So for me, I was like, yeah, that's a good point. You know, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be doing the same things regardless, whether I'm on a team or whether I'm solo. Let me grow my own brand and actually, you know, make a name for myself instead of working for someone else and making a name for them or their brand. So for me, that's kind of the way I went with it. I'm still solo. It's worked out really well for me, but I will say it's like, you need to keep yourself super accountable. And as far as part-time, full-time, I would say it's a very personal decision based on finances, whether you're able to actually do it if you can quit your job, then, you know, and you have 6 months in reserve or 8 months in reserve, I would go full-time. That's all I'm going to say.
That's the answer right there.
Full-time is like the way that you will break into this business and actually be able to dedicate the time to create a successful business. There are people who've done it part-time, like Jen, who talked last week, and it's just you need to balance that in your own life, whether you're financially able.
Right. I think about it like a 30, 60, 90, like the last weeks around. You know, if you would.
Right.
So,
Do you have a question?
You are on it, switch roles.
So, I guess teams have different roles. This might be a better question for someone who's been on a team, to be honest, because I've never been on one. So,
And I'm about to talk about
okay.
all the team
Yeah,
stuff.
so Chris will get you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, Marcus said at the end about the part-time versus full-time, I couldn't agree more. It's a very personal decision. At the same time, if you're going to go full-time, which is how you become really, like, find that really big success in this business, just be ready for that 6 to 8 months of kind of hard times. Have a nest egg, have a support system. If you're married, they have an income, just be like, hey, babe, gonna need some support on this one, right? That's how I did it, by the way. I went from pretty stable job where I was like, you know, but now like I was really at my ceiling already, and it was easy. I think it was an easy life, but like I wanted more. I wanted bigger. And told my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a realtor, and she went, okay. She told me later, she's like, I was terrified, but she's like, you're the hardest working person I know, so like I need to work it out, and I did. But that first year was tough. And I'll share my numbers, by the way. So I joined a team, as I'm gonna talk about a little bit. I joined the team when I first started. I made about $18,000 my first year. Kind of quiet about it. Made about $18,000 my first year. On a team, my next, really, which was my full year. I should say the first year was 10 months. So I started like really February 29th, it was 10 months. I made total, maybe about $18,000. The next really full year, I made $118,000 on a team. So what's the benefits of the team versus solo? Why did I go solo now, right? So if you're in the first one, it's great support in the beginning. Like Marcus said, like, you know, in the beginning, you need someone to come in and tell you what to do, how many. Like fired. Sorry. Ben started. You need someone to come in and tell you, this is how many calls you need to make, this is what we expect of you, right? Because you know the biggest fault of what everybody does when they get in this business, 85% dropout rate over 18 months. They come in and they're their own boss. They come in late, they sleep late. Oh, I work for myself.
It's sunny, it's rainy,
That's it. I don't feel like going in
There's a game
today.
on.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll do
feed
that
the
later.
homies.
I'll do that later. That's what everybody falls into that category. When you're on a team, although you're still 1099, you're kind of have a responsibility to somebody now. And I came in with like no database. I didn't have any big database, right? So that means I didn't have people immediately start picking up the phone and calling and going after a business. I needed someone who was going to provide me some guidance, provide me some leads, and help me build that. And I built that. That's why I spent 2.5 years building was a database of people and skills and accountability, and this is how I do it. And yes, I was splitting pretty big chunks of my commission back, but also my $25,000 that Stacy told you about was reduced down quite a bit. The team was taking care of a lot of that. I didn't pay desk fees. I didn't pay my E&O insurance. I didn't have a lot of upfront expenses. That was the support a team offered me. Yes, here, when I get my first check, here goes, you know, I'm not gonna tell you the percentage, but a big chunk. But I didn't have the fees that crush a lot of people in the beginning either. That allowed me to learn the business, get into it, have a transaction coordinator right off the bat. Like I stepped into an admin. Oh, I have an admin. I have support. I have internet leads that were coming in. I have this. I have training. I have accountability. That was what I did. But you know, here I am now. I've left, right? Here I am 2.5 years in. I've left the team. Well, I built that database. I learned the support. Right now, I'm wearing all those hats. You saw those hats? Like, I'm wearing them all, except transaction coordinator. I have someone for that. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. Control the marketing and branding standards. I come from a graphic design background, and I'm just really particular about like branding, the way something looks, the way it's presented, and I was not happy with that, the way we were presenting ourselves on the team. But I had no control over that. You know how frustrating that is. I mean, even down to like just like the, you know, it properly printing and not looking like it was copied 6 times or it's crooked now. It just drove me crazy. But now I get to set my own standards. I get to do that. I get to build my own business. And then finally, what I wanted to, this is so important. This isn't a job, by the way. This isn't even a career. All right? It's not either of those things. This is a business, totally business. I mean, you're operating yourself as a business that happens to produce real estate transactions. I mean, like, so I'm LLC. I don't know if you have it. Yeah, I'm LLC. So like, I actually my commissions go into an operating account, and I'm on my own payroll now. So I just pay myself a payroll, and my commission's going over here. I run this. This is a business. You better start running it like a business and thinking about it like a business. If you think about it like a job or a career, probably not gonna work out for you. Treat it like a business. So what happens for anybody else when you have a job or you go work for someone else and you don't do that job? You get fired. Most people have to fire themselves in this business. It's a tough conversation to have when you're the only employee. All right? But that's the reality of it. But that's what the team is going to give you a little bit of that support in the beginning. I just got to a point where I decided to go solo because I had built a database, a business, a method, and I was in a position now to employ myself and feel really good about that support, right? And now I get to be honestly a lot like Marco, where I'm just like, I get to build my own brand, hopefully build my own team, right? Here's the other thing, when you're on a team, you get to see what not to do. You know, you get to see where they had pitfalls. You go, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna, I see where they went wrong on this, and I'm gonna correct that myself. You get to see the inner workings. But I agree also with Marco, when I went solo, I did everything myself, because I was considered a meg agent, so I stepped out into the solo field. I didn't even know how to do a green sheet and get paid. I couldn't figure it out. I had no idea how to do the paperwork. I didn't know how to put a listing up. I didn't know anything. I was like a child. I had no idea. And I just did it all myself. I didn't pay anybody. I just did it myself, because if one day you're gonna hire someone and tell them how you like things done, you better know how to do it yourself. All right, I'm good. I'm done. Thank you.
Cool. So lastly, you brought up so many good points that I wanted to kind of highlight. When you have this as a business, you are your own CEO, you are your own manager, and you are your own employee. And that's why when you have a job or a career where you have a CEO or a manager, you're responsible to them or you get fired. Here, you're gonna run into the biggest challenges with your employee self. That's the one that wants to sleep in. That's the one that wants to, like, I literally had somebody telling me they were gonna go do a service activity. It was a political campaign and the other one was feed the homeless. I'm like, how are you feeding your family if you are not coming to work? So you need to be mindful of your employee coming to work every day and treating it like you have a job. So you have the money coming in so that you can pay yourself a salary. So every job you saw up there could be paid to somebody. So to the question somebody asked about, can you switch roles on a team? You are going to naturally fulfill a role that is best suited for you, and that's where my story kind of ties into. But basically, you should, when you're in this, when you come to real estate, you'll figure out, I think, pretty quickly what you like or don't like. And by quickly, I mean it could take a year or two to really figure out what you like and what you don't like. You know, you may love working with buyers. You may love doing open houses. You may love working with sellers. Like, you may love working with investors. You're just going to learn a lot about yourself, professionally and personally, in this career. So if you're interviewing with a team, you need to, like, they'll let you know how they've structured their team and have a contract such that you know if they're hiring you to a specific role, that they're like, if you're successful, if we think you're best suited for this role, a buyer specialist, we're probably not going to want you to switch to a listing agent. There may be other teams, though, that agents do both. Like, I do both. I wouldn't ever join a team that didn't let me do both, because it gives me a good perspective on what's going on both sides of the market. Does that help you? Was that your question? Does that help answer your question? Okay. So yeah, so I was in business for 7+ years before I came to Keller Williams. My business was overflowing. I was just outgrowing my current office, literally and figuratively. There's literally no more desk space. I knew I needed an assistant. I was doing 24 deals. I was trying to break through that 6-figure income for the 4 prior years to my switch. And I needed help. I was doing everything myself. Even though they provided me marketing postcards, this and that, my split was 70-30 forever. There was never a point at which I earned 100% of that commission. So when I started having conversations with people at Keller Williams, and I learned that once I contribute that $25,000 and $3,000, I start earning 100%, then I did the math, and I realized even though I was going to take on certain expenses, like marketing postcards and things like that, remember I did 24 deals, but I needed to do 18 deals here. So I would have actually made more money in 3 out of the 4 years had I been under these conditions. These conditions also had the education and the training, how to think of it like a business. I was an accidental team leader, just like my broker was an accidental broker. She got the business from her dad, who had a property management business. She went to architecture school, so she never intended to be in real estate. Does anybody feel like they're accidentally getting into real estate? That's my story. It's kind of like I just found it. It was just like I had quit my job. I was renovating a house. I am not handy. I don't know what I was doing, but I was brave. And then I was like, my agent said, why don't you get your license? It's like, okay. So like it was like total accidental like career choice that luckily worked out well. So I'm still here. So my broker didn't know how to train me how to build a business. So I knew I needed to be a small fish in a big pond, where they were going to train me how to do that. So I came to Keller Williams. That was 8 years ago. I'm now finally here longer than I was there. And that first full year that I was there, I more than doubled my transactions.